Alright guys, welcome to today's video. This is going to be a garden update for March. Today is March 22nd, so we're going to go ahead and start at the herb bed. We have our collards and our kale right here. They're doing pretty good, but it is pretty warm. This area of the garden does get primarily the southern sun, and so now that it's getting into warmer temperatures, it's not doing as good because it's not as shaded as some of my other vegetables, which I'll show you. And then our cilantro is starting to bolt. I've been harvesting from this guy, but in order to slow this down, I'm really gonna have to make an aggressive chop near the top to get it to stop bolting. But that's what this section looks like. And then if we come around here, you can see these are the bay trees. If you guys remember in one of the last videos, this is one of our newest additions that I potted with a different mix than these two. And so far it's doing really good. This is a really nice spot. Like I said, on this side of the yard, it has a very good southern exposure. So a lot of that sunlight is actually doing really good for that bay tree. Next, we have a whole bunch of walla onions that I started. Some of them are doing okay. I did water these a little too late and some of them have already dried out, but they're doing fine. And then if I take you to the inside of our greenhouse garden, you can see this is where we have a lot of the peppers and the yarrow. The yarrow really doesn't like it when it's too hot, so I will have to eventually move this to the other side of the garden where it is a little bit more shaded. But the peppers love this area because of how much sunlight and how much heat they get. They are starting to put out a whole bunch of new leaves. However, I will have to be careful for aphids. I can see that there's already aphids on some of these, and so I will have to treat that. We have our apple tree right here that's doing okay. This is one of our 3-year-old apple trees. It hasn't started to bud out or anything like that, so I may go ahead and actually buy some scions and try to graft either a golden delicious or maybe I think it's butterscotch to some of my older apple trees. Right here we did have the papaya. Unfortunately, the earwigs and some of the slugs got to the base of that papaya when I had it under that covering, and they actually killed it by pretty much just chewing away at the main stem. So over there, what I'll do is I'll most likely take our blueberry bush and put it over on that side. And then next to the peppers, we have our artichokes, which they look sad, but that's because they're actually going to flower and they're producing some of their the golden globes. They're producing the green globes. And so if you take a look, we actually have a ton of artichokes that are growing. So we got one right here, and then we have a smaller one right here, and then the main one right here. And these look really good. If I wanted to eat this, I would probably harvest this one how it is right now. Just from what I've seen in years past, this artichoke really doesn't get much bigger than this until it actually opens up and produces some of those nice, beautiful purple flowers. But like I said, this is in the heat. So I may have to move it, but it's doing okay. And then right here we have the secondary stem, and that's also producing artichokes. I will have to come in here and eventually just kind of reorganize this mess of noodles that's going on, but so far the artichokes are doing really nice. If I take you to behind me, I'm actually gonna move this little plant out of the way, and this is where we have some of the carrots. I decided to give the carrots a little bit more sunlight in this area because I had them up on the our grow rack, but over there they just weren't getting enough. So these ones I started a while back, and these ones are probably only about a month old, and they're doing really, really good. Usually by this time they start suffering from pest damage and whatnot, but these older ones, you can see them actually poking through the soil. They look really good, so I'm excited. I haven't had any luck with carrots in the past. They usually die out or something crazy happens to them. Just unfortunate, but like I said, I'm very excited to see if we can actually have some carrots, and it looks like we will be able to this year. Just behind the carrots, we have the pomegranates. These are ones where I overseeded this container. They've come out of hibernation now that it's getting warmer, and you can see the leaves are actually doing really good. However, they are starting to get this weird white fuzz. If I can, there we go. They are starting to get this weird white fuzz, so I might have to spray these down with some soapy water or something, because it may just start affecting the entire plants that I have right here. Next door, like I said, we have our blueberry. Has a lot of flowers on it. It's doing good, but the size container, like I said, is kind of small, so we will most likely move it to the bigger container right there. Our mint plant right here is taken off after I buried a lot of the roots It sent off a lot of side shoots, and I mean, just the color and the smell of this mint, I wish I remembered what kind it was. It smells really good. But again, we're gonna have to watch out for some pests. It does look like aphids or some kind of insect is starting to take effect on that, and it will spread around. So if anything, I just got to get on the pests and improve my game this summer. So we have more peppers right here. These are a mix of jalapenos and bell peppers. And next to them, we have broccoli. Again, I haven't had broccoli in forever, or had a good year of growing broccoli, but this looks like it's actually producing really well. And you can see there's a little small broccoli head right there. The thing about these is to try to keep them in the shade as we go into the summer, into later months of spring, and also keep them watered. As soon as they start getting to that point where it's too warm, they'll just go ahead and bolt. So it looks like these two that I have in here are doing really well. And then next door to that, I have some red Russian kale, which is another vegetable you have to be careful for bolting once it gets a little bit warmer. But you can see this one is actually doing really good. It does have a little bit of pest damage, but it's not nearly as bad as some of the other plants. And from this, I can just go ahead and harvest the outside leaves, and it's still producing new leaves on the interior right here. So that's something that I can actually use for salad, along with some of the lower branches, or the outer branches of the broccoli. Behind that, we do have our bell peppers, which are starting to come in really well. We have 4 of them right here. This is the earliest set of bell peppers that I have. Again, just making sure to watch over them because the pest, some pest has already gotten this guy, so I'm actually gonna just, I'll leave that for now, just so that they focus on that. But like I said, this is where we have a lot of the bell peppers. They are starting to leaf out and put out some new foliage. Very nice to see. Here's our country purple tomato that we transplanted over here so that we can actually trellis it up this. That's gonna produce some big, awesome tomatoes. So I may actually add another tomato right here so I can trellis this side, but that's doing fine. Our cabbage again, one of the best cabbages I've ever grown so far, and it's doing really good, really amazing. Great formation of the head, so we'll leave that. And then next to that, we have our cowpeas. The cowpeas, what I should have done is overseeded these like I did the peas and the burgundy bush beans, which I'll show you in a second. The reason why I should have overseeded them is because the pill bugs, the slugs, earwigs, like I said, the pests this year have just been crazy, or just pests in general have been crazy for the cowpeas. They've been getting gnawed on. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just overseed some more peas in here so they can actually get the opportunity to trellis that. Right here we have the calla and the lilium. They're just lily flowers, or lily bulbs that are going to flower. So I have them in this grow bag. And then behind that I have the burgundy bush beans, which I said just look really good so far. Compared to the cowpeas, they're not nearly as chewed on, and we have some more of them that are actually coming up right now. So I'm gonna let these guys continue to germinate and come up. And it seems like this is a good spot because this area is semi-shaded during the early hours of the morning, and then later in the afternoon it gets a little bit more sun. And then next to that we have our sugar snap peas, which again, just really doing good once you overseed them, because the pests won't have too many things to focus on, and it will most likely help you so that you can actually have some of your plants survive. So that's what the sugar snap peas look like. Then next door, this is our main tree area. Again, another 3-year-old apple tree that I grew from seed. And then we have some of the peach trees right here. These are over a year old now, but I kept them in little containers, so they've stayed about the same size, but they are putting out their new leaves, and I did trim some of these back where they were dead and no longer growing from. Underneath that, we have our Jerusalem tulips, which are doing good. It sucks because I had about 12 in here, but only 3 of them have popped up, and I'm not seeing any signs that there's gonna be any more coming up. But I'm happy that at least maybe I'll get the opportunity to see some of the flowers off of these guys, because I've never grown tulips like this before. Next to that, we have the daylilies, which again, in a semi-shaded area, it does get warm in the later afternoon. So these guys are starting to take off now that they have some shade. So that may be the trick to grow these better, is keep them semi-shaded. And then behind them, we have our main staple of avocado trees. This is one of our newest additions that's only probably like 4 months old, but it's just a little seedling, and I transplanted it into a 1 gallon just so that it has more time to grow, and it's actually doing really good. So it's putting out new leaves, it looks really healthy. And then we have one of our main avocado trees. This one I think is about 2 years old. So it's pretty tall. I would estimate it's probably about 6'8", about 6'9", something like that. And then right next to that, we have another avocado. This is the one that I grafted, the bacon variety. But if you can tell on camera, the main stem is lighter than the portion that we grafted. So this piece is most likely dying. And this is the one where I said that I was gonna try to correct the graft because I just don't think it took. And you can see it's not putting out any new buds and starting to get that dark coloration around the edges. So that most likely means that it's dying. Next to that, we have another one of our huge avocado trees that's really just taken off. So I'm excited that I'll be able to have the opportunity to actually graft some newer varieties onto this guy. And again, you just can't beat this color with avocados. The purple, orange, yellows, and greens that you get off of the new leaves especially is just really amazing to see. And then here's one of our newer seedlings. It's just starting to put out some new growth, and then I'll graft onto that hopefully sometime later in the year. And then coming around behind me, we have 2 more broccoli, I believe. And then this is the arugula and some of the salad greens I'm letting go to seed. So it's already bolted, and I'll hopefully get a couple thousand seeds from all these flowers. And I'll be able to use that for salads in the winter time if possible. And then next to that, this is kind of where we are making improvements to the irrigation, and we're starting to really transplant out a lot of tomatoes and other stuff. So right here, we have our Jubilee tomato looking really good. You can see the seedling leaves are yellow, but the new leaves that are coming in are really nice and green. I did the usual. I put in the 6-month fertilizer and I put in the bone meal. So a lot of these are taking off. But again, I can't stress how important it is to try to grow multiple tomatoes in the same container, because when you do something like this guy, for example, this is our super sweet 100, where you just have one plant, it's just too vulnerable to pests, which unfortunately for our Kentucky or country purple tomato on this side, I had one right there and one right there. They both got chewed on, and then I had to add some more. And also having your transplants be bigger before you put them out in the garden is going to help you so that you don't waste time trying to grow new tomatoes because you've just been destroyed by pests. And here's a good example of this. This is another cherry super sweet 100. I just transplanted 2 new plants, but you can see the previous one, this one's been chewed on by some slugs or pill bugs, something. So just try to transplant as many as you can, and then you can worry about pruning and getting rid of them so that you have space later on. Our Black Beauty zucchini doing really good. I think this is the best spot to have them in. And excuse the mess for the irrigation, I am reworking it, but right here we have a lot of sunlight, like I said, from the southern side of the garden, and then right here is where it gets a good amount of shade throughout the day. So the zucchini is actually really liking that, and again, doing really good, putting out some new growth. Right behind that, we have the Black Beauty eggplant. I did plant 3 of them in here. This one didn't survive. That one's actually dead and drying out, but these ones are putting out new leaves. Really exciting to see. The Jubilee tomato, this one I believe is our biggest transplant so far, doing really good. And then on this side, we have a yellow pear tomato also doing pretty good and getting established. And what I'm hoping to do with this area is once I get the irrigation put in and it's all set up, then from the main beam right here, I can have some hooks, and then I can trellis all of these tomatoes off of this beam right here and this beam across, and then I'll raise them up just so that they have a better opportunity to grow. Next to that, we have a cabbage. This is the container that I kind of like just neglected. I didn't do anything with it. I didn't fertilize it. I didn't give it water in time. So this cabbage looks pretty sad, but surprisingly, it's not being as destroyed as some of these other plants with the pests. You can tell that one's getting chewed on by slugs. And then we have just a little volunteer tomato. Have no clue what variety that is. It's just growing right next to it. So just a little experiment, letting that grow. And then next to that, we have all the peaches that we grafted onto. So we have our Majestic peach grafts and we have our Georgia Belle. And I believe some of them are doing good and some of them are doing bad. For example, this Majestic peach graft on this side, you can see that the buds right here, they don't look as good or as healthy, and some of the leaves are actually starting to brown up, which is not a good sign. What I like about this graft, if the camera will focus, is that we can see this one is actually starting to become green and actually put out new leaves. Underneath the graft right here is the seedling growth. So all this stuff doesn't really matter as much as the growth that's on our scion. So you can see it is pushing new growth, and that's nice to see all the way around, especially on this guy right here. So this is one where I had the grafting tape and I just spun it around, and this is the Georgia Belle. So you can see I tightly wound it and new leaves are actually pushing through that. So that means that hopefully the graft has actually been successful to our seedling peach. And then we're waiting to see what's gonna happen with this guy right here. But that one also doesn't look that great, but I'm really excited to see how well the Georgia Belle does. If I go behind us, you can see, holy cow, our Buckeye trees are taking off. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with these. Like I said, I didn't really have a game plan, but I really love the color that these things are putting out because it looks crazy. I love how the leaves look, and I love the new color. It's almost like the avocados, but then you get this like red stem when they're young, reddish pink stem. So I really like how these look when they're growing, but I'm just gonna let those continue on. And I may transplant some of these guys out of the regular containers into these tree pot containers, just so that that main root has a chance to develop correctly. Because if you leave them in these containers, the smaller circular containers, what will happen is the root system won't be as strong, and it's gonna end up growing in a way where it's not gonna really grow the best. Excuse me. And then up here we have the other seedlings that I had in the house. Like I said, they were super leggy and are still leggy. However, they are getting acclimated to the outdoors, which is very good. And we still have a ton of tomatoes all in the back that need to get transplanted eventually once I get more containers. We have our marigold doing really well. Again, I'm gonna end up transplanting that guy somewhere where it makes sense. And then over here, we have a ton more of the peppers that are growing. It's still a little too early, it's not as warm. And then some more of the cabbage, the cauliflower, the kale, broccoli, stuff like that. And then all these containers back here are the red hot poker. None of them have actually popped up, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I'm sure we'll get at least one, but nothing out of like these 50 containers has come up. So that's a little disappointing, but like I said, it is what it is. Right here, we have 3 more bay trees. This is another young bay tree that I'll transplant, similar to how I did the one in front of the garden. And then here is another Buckeye. This is the oldest one that I have. Its growth has stopped, and the leaves are super dark now, so I may have to transplant that or give it more fertilizer. In this container, I have another Georgia Belle cutting that I'm trying to root. Right here is where all the magnolia tree seeds are. None of them have come up. It's just being overtaken by clover. So haven't really seen anything for the magnolias yet. The aloe plants are doing pretty good, and I moved this guy into this nice little pot. Looks really nice. We have a couple different things going on over here. Okay, so we have the avocado grafts, which this one over here is doing really, really good. If I can get it to focus in, you can see that the buds, there we go. The buds are actually coming out off the scion, and that is the bacon variety. So I think we've successfully got one bacon variety. And then we have a couple other cuttings. And then we have some tree seeds that I just found in our our mulch layer that we had over here. These are wood chips that I took from one of the locations off the side of the road. And so now we're growing, I don't know if it's a Doug fir or what, a spruce tree, something. So something else is growing in here. So I'm just having that as a little experiment. And then I will go ahead and take you guys over to the raised bed so we can see what's going on over there. Before we get to the raised bed, I wanted to come back to the orange tree. You can see it's putting out a whole lot of new growth and a whole lot of flowers, which is very exciting because we still have oranges on here that we're still eating from. So we're still eating oranges. We still have a couple left to eat, but now that we can see that new ones are coming in, the tree is doing really good. Like I said, if you saw in the last video, or one of the last videos, We put a whole bunch more compost, and then now you can see the leaves are starting to take off even more, and there's a ton of new growth. It's looking really nice all the way around. Really healthy tree, and I just got to keep pruning away some of the dead growth, or the dead portions of the tree that are on here. And then over here we have some more aloe plants that I haven't really done anything with, but like I said, we're improving the irrigation system and getting things cleaned up. So we have a line going from that tube all the way over here, and that's watering that whole section of aloe plants. And then if I come over here, same thing with some of the other random landscaping plants. And then our peach tree, this one, again, taking off. Like, all the growth on this is just amazing. It looks really good, really healthy. And there's just branches now coming from everywhere. So that is really good to see, and we'll see how that does. We do have our grafted variety right here. Let me see if I can bring this out. Yeah, so this is our graft. It does look a little dry, but it's doing fine. So we'll see how that goes within the next few weeks. You can actually see there is some new green growth right here that's on there. So we'll give that some more time, and then it should be okay. Along the fence, we do have some more tree pots. Again, I'm gonna have to figure out how to work the irrigation so that these all get watered. I don't necessarily want to do a single drip line to each one of those. That's just very time consuming. And then coming over to the compost, what's really cool is I've started to add some of the pumpkins from last year, and now they're starting to germinate in the compost, like this guy right here. And so what I can do is I can actually use these guys and start putting them around the garden with some of the new irrigation, and these pumpkins will grow new pumpkins. So like I said, it's awesome to have a cycle like that where you have the compost, it's not going to landfill, and you're growing your own food from stuff that you've already eaten from. Next, amazing stuff right here, their raised garden bed. Like I said, the flowers, the pollinators that we have put in right here are looking really good. And you can see our nasturtiums, some of these guys are taking off. They're doing really good. These two right here, I did plant like 5 seeds, so there are a couple that haven't come up yet, but the pollinators are doing really good. The prize head lettuce right here, doing really good. If you guys remember that, we transplanted those in. They looked super ugly. All I did was give them some shade, and now they're putting out some nice leaves and looking really good. In between the pollinators and the prize head lettuce, we have red onions. So I know that's not necessarily the best in spacing, but I just want to experiment, see what we could do with it this year, and give it a shot. Next, we have the dino kale, the potatoes doing really good. And then again, the ruby leaf lettuce doing really good, catching up to the prize head. And then unfortunately, the Grand Rapids is just not really performing. The germination is really spotty, and the growth is kind of slow, except for this side of the garden. And then the cowpeas, again, like I said, I don't know what it is. The earwigs and the slugs just love the cowpeas, but won't touch any other pea. So I'll probably have to seed that again, just so that we get more growth. The fig, the Violette de Bordeaux, still no change, no new growth, so I'm pretty sure I'll have to get a new variety. The other nasturtiums right here are starting to put new growth on the backside. The dahlias are coming up. The tulips have pretty much finished flowering, and I'm wondering if this portion right here is gonna be a seed pod or what. I haven't really done my research, but I feel like this is gonna turn into a seed pod, and then I can plant more tulips throughout the yard later. But like I said, the dahlias are doing really good, and some of them are just starting to pop up, like that guy right there. So we're gonna go ahead and just do that. But this whole area, like I said, needs a rework, which is probably what I'll do. And by rework, I mean I'm gonna have to till a lot of this stuff and get rid of a lot of the weeds that are around here. And then what I'll do is I'll take a handful, like 1,200 pollinator seeds, and just go crazy and throw all pollinator seeds over here. And this, like I said, will be the flower portion of the garden. Right here we have our pear tree. Like I said, I'm just waiting. There's no change in it. It hasn't put out any new buds or anything like that. We have the alyssum, which again, doing really good in this section of the garden. I don't know why. It might be because of the compost that I put around the pear tree, but it's just taking off and doing really well. Next, this is kind of like one of the newest additions. We have the gardenias. and I forgot the name of this one, but has a nice red flower. And then all in the front, before the sprinkler, we have a whole bunch of liliums again, which you can see this one right here has actually popped up out of the ground, if I can get it to focus. And it's starting to turn green, so we know that it's doing really well. But like I said, I planted probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably like 6 or 7 of them all on this front side. So as soon as those come up and push out new growth, I'll show you guys. That's gonna do it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, and I'll catch you in the next one.